The people will wait for genius, but the algorithms will not. I was watching Curb Your Enthusiasm, and Larry always had this deal with HBO where whenever you're ready, just come in and do a season. Obviously, he has a huge reputation and, tons of money from Seinfeld. The guy is legendary as a creator of TV because his show has 10 or 11 seasons and started in 1999. It wasn't even intended to be a series back then. It was just like a mockumentary. Obviously, not everyone is going to get to create whenever they want. But some creators need more time. If you're going to make something good and you're going to make something of high quality, you need time. Most corporations won't give it to you unless you have some leeway. Individuals will. They'll wait. There's a podcast I listen to called Hardcore History by Dan Carlin. Dan is spectacular. He is the world's greatest history teacher. He makes such beautiful, detailed stories out of history, and he will do 4.5, 5, 6 hour podcasts, and he charges to get access to the previous episode. But sometimes you'll take months, if not years, to put out a new episode. But when it comes out, it is amazing. And you wait for it because that's what it is, because some quality takes time. And we are in a culture that rewards shit being thrown at you 24/7. And the Google algorithm won't even acknowledge you unless you're pumping stuff out almost every single day. That's why all these YouTubers get burnt out, because once you stop serving the algorithm, you've stopped serving Google and you're out. Your stuff stops appearing in people's feeds as a recommendation. Google only wants to recommend things that post regularly, so you keep coming back to see more and more of it. So that's their incentive. And we are just serfs in their serfdom. That is how brutal algorithms are. But it's the same thing with Amazon workers. They are treated as cogs in a giant machine. Everything is managed digitally. Same thing with UPS. UPS manages every delivery down to the second. They know exactly how many turns you took. They eliminated left turns. They're optimizing everything. They know how long everything takes. They don't even let you take piss breaks because they know that you need to get these deliveries done in X amount of time. Ubers are another perfect example. Every single Uber driver is a marionette. They have a little bit more freedom to say no to things or to not serve a particular customer or a particular neighborhood. But guess what? You do that 2, 3, 4 times, the algorithm stops rewarding you and takes business to some other driver. So algorithms are ruthless, and the people behind those algorithms are ruthless. So when we say algorithms, it's just a way of hiding behind the people who control them. This is a new merciless future that we're staring at unless we get control of the algorithms. I'm going to do a special episode on this. It's going to blow your mind. So don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and newsletter and all that stuff. I've got some amazing stuff coming up. My favorite, El Salvador. I know. I talk about El Salvador all the time, almost on every episode, and I need to stop. El Salvador is creating a Bitcoin city. They announced a few months ago that they are going to use Bitcoin as an official currency in the country. And I think today the World Economic Forum or some other official organization said, oh, you shouldn't use Bitcoin as a currency. Anyway, they're creating a Bitcoin city, which is going to have no taxes of any kind, except it didn't say anything about sales tax. So maybe they'll have some sales tax, but no other tax, no emissions taxes, nothing. So they're going to build, I guess, the mining thing next to a volcano. And then I guess if things go horribly wrong, they'll just toss all the people who failed them into the volcano. But the idea of this is pretty smart because look, it's very hard to differentiate yourself, especially if you're a country primarily known for war and for a horrible economy and for hyperinflation and for having an undereducated, underfed population. So if you're trying to dig out of that hole, and I give credit to the president, I mean, I joke around about it, but this guy is actually trying to do something different, and I admire that. First of all, the country needs a makeover. Second of all, there's so many of these Bitcoin bros with so much money burning a hole in their pocket that they're actually buying stick figures, digital stick figures for tens of thousands and millions and hundreds of millions of dollars. Some of those transactions are completely fake, but regardless, there's a market for digital stick figures. If we found out how much money there truly is in the crypto space, it would blow our minds. There's so many crypto billionaires that we'll never know about. Everyone is talking about Elon Musk, richest person, Jeff Bezos, richest person. The richest person might be an oil trillionaire, or it might be a Bitcoin trillionaire that we don't even know about. The public people and the private people, we need to distinguish. Anyway, the other thing is, at least in the short term, it creates a physical manifestation of this libertarian utopia that hardcore crypto people want to build, because they're like, we don't need government, we don't need any central authority, everything can be done person to person. All right, well, let's try it. Maybe it'll be a magnet for some people to go and check that out. I don't know. Or maybe these crypto people are so used to living in the virtual space, so they'll talk a good game, but they really don't necessarily want to live in El Salvador. And finally, when was the last time we talked about El Salvador? No one ever talks about El Salvador. It is something to get you into the news. And Elon Musk did something similar when they said, oh, Tesla's going to accept Bitcoin as payment. No one's paying in Bitcoin, but a lot of companies have figured out this neat little trick, because Bitcoin is a cult. It's like this libertarian utopianist view. They've got their own corner of Twitter and they're trying to convert people. So this is a whole industry. And obviously it's in their interest to convert as many people as possible, because that drives up the price of the coin. So a lot of companies have cracked the code. We'll just announce that we accept Bitcoin as payment, and then someone in this freakazoid alternate universe of Bitcoin will write about it, and then maybe some mainstream outlets will pick up on it. So in Bitcoin Magazine, just in, AMC theaters now accepting Bitcoin for online payments. AMC is so desperate, they will blow you for showing up at their theater. They don't care what kind of genitals you have. They don't care about your gender. They're like, listen, we've got something with the rock in it, and you know what else? You're rock hard, and we're here to service you. They want you in there, and they will do anything. They'll put a finger and they'll tickle around until you have the satisfying experience that you need. And that's the same finger that they use to operate their Bitcoin wallets. We're still kind of pretending that Bitcoin's a currency. It's not. It's really not. I think it can only process like 7 transactions a second. It's unacceptable as currency. And they've tried to do something to speed that up, but it's nowhere near the capacity of Visa or MasterCard network to process payments. So it's still a speculative asset, and no one's going to be paying in something they think will appreciate. So this is just free PR. And personally, I only pay for things with pets.com stock certificates. I just tear a piece off and give them that piece of paper, and then I walk out with the big screen TV. Usually the cops show up and hopefully they don't start shooting. But, when they do, I always wear a vest, which I also bought with pets.com certificates. There's another billionaire, Mark Lohr, who started jet.com, who I actually spoke about in a previous episode. He's building a woke city called Equitism. This is not a joke. He's actually doing it. So he's a billionaire who's building a city called Equitism, because equity is a different word than irony. See, those are separate words. You'll still you'll still live under the auspices and control and patronage of a benevolent billionaire, but a billionaire nonetheless. I'm for all of these cities. Let's experiment with everything. I think it's great, but it's also ridiculously funny that Equitism is going to be created by a billionaire. If that doesn't tell you a little about your future. Billionaire Mark Lohr isn't the only one building his own city. In fact, they're buying 40 acres of land in Wyoming to build a blockchain city, very similar to what El Salvador is doing without the threat of war. I love the experimentation. I think maybe we'll learn something. But this particular Cryptovirgin Sausagefest, all the people there will die. No one will be getting laid. I think they're all going to die off in a single generation. It'll be like a city that pops up and immediately dies. And all of the most important lessons will be captured on GitHub. I call this Lonesome Python. Python is a programming language, in case you don't know. If you build something, and Google learned this is actually a great example. When they launched Google Glass, it was so geeky, it was so dorky, it was so lame that people were just making fun of it. There was like a whole Tumblr, when Tumblr was a thing, about white middle-aged men in Google Glass. And there's endless. I don't know, maybe it's still up. And it was the uncoolest thing ever. And it killed the product. Look, the design killed the product. They probably should have involved real fashion people in the beginning. And Apple is actually doing that with its augmented reality glasses. They know women are the key. They know fashion is the key. They know Black people are the key because they set the trends culturally. So they are making sure that this product starts there rather than the dorks and the geeks, because that's never going to take off. People want to feel like, whatever they're wearing, especially on their face, is going to be cool. And starting a crypto city is just the most depressing thing ever. Being in New York, being in finance, talking to a bunch of crypto people, I've seen an evolution, or maybe a devolution. This first crop of crypto guys that I met were these true believers. They were libertarian utopianists. They're like, we're going to live in a society with no central authority. It's going to be anarchy. We can do whatever we want. And if you want to trust somebody, you trust the blockchain, because that will tell you the truth. The second crop were basically virgins for Minecraft. They got into the weeds of the technology and started developing it and tinkering around because it's interesting, because it's infinite. You can make as many currencies, you can update currency, everything's open source. It's this fun group project where you get to learn all this stuff about mathematics, and these are mathematically minded people. The third crop were basically these salivating profiteers, ICO holes. So ICOs was a way to basically scam people out of money to start a company that didn't exist. None of those projects, as far as I know, I think the only one that succeeded that was an ICO was Celsius Network, which has its own issues. I'll get into that maybe some other time. But the current crop are basically, it goes up. Crypto goes up. I bought some of the one with the dog, Shih Tzu, and then I bought another one, the Dogecoin, and then that went up, and then it went down, but then I bought more, and then it went up again, and then this other one has a different dog on it. I don't know what type of dog. It's some kind of dog, and then that is going to go up, and then, and I'm going to have a lot of crypto, and I put it in a portfolio, but a wallet, and then I wrote down my code so I could open it, and then, I don't know if it's a capital K or lowercase K. K is a very difficult letter because, like K, like is it lowercase, you got to make the side thing higher. It's not that easy. Crypto is very complicated. And, I follow all of the, the things. And, the things that, like I go to crypto.com and I look at the numbers, and the numbers are good. The numbers are going up. Look, I want to buy a new house. I want to buy a new car. I got a family to feed. So that's why I took a second mortgage and I bought a token. I bought a lot of tokens. I'm a smoking token mother effer. That's what I am. I'm just making money, big money. I go around and I make the big money. I just look at my screen and the money, it goes up. It's very, very good. I'm making very good money, I think. I don't know. Where's my password? What? You threw it out? You threw it out? So some people were talking about using tokens and crypto for micropayments, which is, like you want to buy like a little article or you want to put a little tip into the tip jar. So I worked in payments for many, many, many years. I still advise some companies in that space. The problem with micropayments isn't just technical. So yes, crypto technically could make micropayments much cheaper, even though the fees right now are really crazy for a lot of crypto. Even though it becomes technically feasible, the biggest problem with micropayments is psychological. You don't want to turn everything into a purchase decision. Can you imagine you're going through the internet and you're trying to read an article, or you're trying to, figure out if you want to support a certain creator or whatever it is that you do, and you put toll booths in front of everything? It is the most insane experience. So imagine, how when you're driving, you don't have to imagine it. You've probably driven, whether it's a rental car or your own car. Imagine if there was a toll booth every 3 minutes. And you would have to stop and then decide, hey, do I want to pay this toll? Do I want to support this particular road? Do I want to support this particular cleaning or this particular, whatever geography or neighborhood? So that's exactly what micropayments does. It is a horrific psychological pricing model. Very few things would benefit from it. And also, it's extremely hard to budget on the consumer side. So what am I going to pay this month? Am I going to pay, $80 a month for this benefit, or am I going to pay $160 a month? You have no idea because you don't know where the tolls are, because everything now is a purchase decision. It is a terrible, awful, horrible way to price. The only way it's a good pricing mechanism is if you're trying to discourage use of things. In New York, and probably a whole bunch of places, you have certain roads that have tolls and other roads that don't have tolls. The goal of that is to drive people, pardon the pun, towards one decision versus another. So you're actually discouraging traffic by creating a toll. And that can be done for everything, even free concerts. And I hate free concerts. The reason I hate free concerts is that it attracts all the riffraff, like people who aren't even fans. They just like getting something for free, or they just like to be outside because it gives them something to do. But I would much rather pay if it's an artist I want to see. And even if you created a nominal fee, even if it was like $5 or $8, whatever it is, you would eliminate 70 to 80% of the riffraff, because it just creates enough friction for them not to show up. So that's how micropayments work. They are friction only to be deployed when you're looking to discourage commerce, not encourage it. I'm not a crypto investor, but if I were, I would love to see an index of cryptocurrencies that's based on the number of new developers that are signing up to the forums, or to work on a given currency, and how active that forum is, just number of posts. Because to me, that's an indicator of something that is increasing in value, or that at least has the faith of developers. So if I'm going to be involved in a Ponzi scheme, I want to be ahead of the game. So I want to see the one that's accumulating support, because ultimately the worker bees of this universe are developers. So without them, you've got nothing. So you need this ecosystem, and then the money comes once the development is there and the technology is there. So if you can create that, I'll invest. I'll put a few thousand in. Let me know. I didn't realize it until I responded to someone on Twitter how many times I've tweeted Gary Vaynerchuk. Now, I don't know if you know who Gary Vaynerchuk is. He's one of these influencer guys who does a lot of public speaking, and he's always kind of latching on to the latest craze, whether it was social media or now it's NFTs. So in case you don't know those, I did an entire episode on that if you're a Patreon member, or you can look at the NFT article that I wrote on stevefaktor.com. Basically, you're buying pictures or videos or any kind of media that lives on the blockchain. Well, now Gary Vaynerchuk also lives on the blockchain. He is selling his doodles for tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. This scam is so amazing. I'm so ridiculously jealous. This guy is now posting pictures. Let me see if I have it. He's posting pictures of crayons he's buying. I'm not joking. I don't have it here. But he's literally buying Sharpies, and he's drawing stick figures, and he's charging people tens of thousands of dollars, and they're paying it. Or it's just an elaborate scam, because this space is filled with scammers, and everyone's sort of like doing transactions with themselves to pump up the prices of these NFTs, hoping that a real sucker comes along and pays them real money. Anyway, this kind of reminds me of when I found out, like long after my college years, how many of my friends could make money by donating sperm. And I'm like, I've let millions slip through my fingers, and same thing with NFTs. So I am not going to let this happen again. So I'm going to try to get a hold of Gary Vaynerchuk and get a quick rundown of exactly how to get rich off this stuff. Oh, here's a Sharpie photo he posted. Listen, man, the tools of the trade. And of course, the trade is grifting. Universal Music Group is turning 4 of its Bored Ape NFTs, which are basically pictures of monkeys, digital pictures, into a music group that will perform in the metaverse and maybe in real life. So I tried to explain this to my dad, and he told me I was adopted. There are so many Twitter accounts that talk about, I'm not even going to get into the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, but any divisive issue that's out there, whether it's a trial or whatever, there are so many of these wacky accounts like stupid Tangerine Tornado 2. I mean, these are not real people. I bet you a really high percentage are either Chinese or Russian disinformation because it's so easy to get people riled up. And now we've shown them what buttons to press. So they just keep pressing them and we will do the rest of the work. All they have to do is make a few tweets and we will do all of the self-destruction for them. And I just start to wonder, at what point is Twitter and Facebook and some of these other platforms, are they culpable for this? Because now they're actively hosting things from people that they could filter out. Like there's so many ways to use IP addresses or cell phone numbers or email addresses or IDs or whatever to verify people. And look, I think there's value to anonymity or pseudonymity, but at some point, there's a solution. I think they don't want to solve this problem, especially Twitter, because they get rewarded for the number of accounts. And as long as the accounts keep growing and not shrinking, which they would maybe by, who knows, 50% if they got rid of all these bots, then they really don't have an incentive.